You're listening to Men of Abundance, episode 235 with Johnathan Grzybowski. And today we're talking about the importance of taking risk to live your life of abundance.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Men of Abundance with Wally Carmichael. You must be prepared to ignite.
Welcome to Men of Abundance, the podcast for those looking to level up their lives by hanging out with some of the greatest leaders and established professionals in our community, living a life of integrity, honor, and the abundance mentality. Prepare to pay it forward with your host, former Army medic turned lifestyle entrepreneur, Wally Carmichael.
What is going on, all of you amazing abundant leaders out there? I am Wally Carmichael, your founder and host of the Men of Abundance podcast, the Pay It Forward community, and today we are talking with Johnathan Grzybowski, risk taker turned entrepreneur, which I think is a perfect fit. And as we get started here today, I want to afford you the opportunity to be abundant in your life today by paying it forward to everybody in your circle. Listen, men and women listen to Men of Abundance. I get so many iTunes reviews, I get emails, I get Facebook messages, Instagram messages, you name it. Everybody's digging Men of Abundance. So don't be bashful and don't be selective about who you share these conversations with. You never know who the conversation is going to touch and in what way. So just share it. Share it on your social media. Ask people, have you ever heard of a podcast? Many haven't even heard of podcasts yet. So first introduce them to the whole world of podcasts and then introduce them to Men of Abundance. Grab their phone and download the podcast player of your choice onto their phone and subscribe them to Men of Abundance right there on the spot. You are going to blow their mind and they're going to thank you for it. Also, if you're so compelled and you really want to make an impact in Men of Abundance and in this podcast and in the community as a whole, then leave us a rating and review on whatever podcast player it is that you use, usually iTunes, because iTunes is the best place to leave a review because it gets searched there. And now that my show's back on the air and being posted again, I am getting a lot of downloads. We are loving it. So I want you to go there and leave your rating and review. Leave an honest rating and review. I read every single one of them, and not because it boosts my ego. It just lets me know what we're doing well and where we can improve. Another way that you can show that you're liking Men of Abundance and you're getting something out of this, guys, you can join our private Men of Abundance Facebook group, and you can do that by going to menofabundance.com/members, or just click on the members only tab at the top of any one of the pages at menofabundance.com. That is where you not only get an opportunity to continue this conversation and share your thoughts, but also bring up other concerns and thoughts and ideas that you have around living a life of abundance and prosperity. All right, so let me introduce you to our featured guest today. Johnathan Grzybowski is a rogue risk taker turned entrepreneur and national thought leader in business development and digital marketing. He is the co-founder of Penji, an on-demand graphic design membership without limitations. Penji helps you achieve more with unlimited graphic design at one flat monthly rate, all powered on their easy-to-use platform. Johnathan is also the host of the #1 business podcast, Blind Entrepreneurship. His mission with his podcast and business is to empower the next generation of entrepreneurs so they can execute their mission. Men of Abundance, it is my honor to introduce you to Johnathan Grzybowski. Johnathan, welcome to Men of Abundance, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Ready to crush this podcast and give as much value to the people listening as we can. So let's get right to it.
Man, that's what it's all about. And I'll tell you guys, I've already been talking with Johnathan here for probably exactly the last 10 minutes, as a matter of fact, pre-show, and we have already connected in such a huge way. This dude is a true abundant leader, man, and this conversation is going to be nothing short of spectacular. I'm absolutely sure of it. So before we get too much into the conversation, Johnathan, I want to ask you, what do you have to be grateful for today?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, number one, the obvious thing is waking up, but I don't want to go that far that early. I would say that one thing I'm grateful for is having an amazing team that surrounds me, that believes in what we are doing, and in turn we believe in them. I think it's something that's early on in the very beginning of when we hire somebody, we always ask them, excuse me, the question, what is your dream and how can we help you get there? And I think that philosophy of helping other people achieve their dream, and in turn, they will be able to help you achieve yours. So I think just having a team that believes in us, that is to me one of the most grateful things, because they're literally, if you really think about it, they're risking their lives in hope that you will take them to where they want to go professionally. That is extremely powerful stuff. So that's number one for sure.
Man, that is absolutely huge too, just because of who I am. And I always say, if I'm gonna first off, somebody just asking me to coach them in anything, in any part of their life, business or abundance or you name it, it's just a huge honor. I don't take that lightly at all. And then to make that decision is an even bigger task for me to do, because Absolutely. I am that passionate about it. And as we were talking pre-show, I'm a Disney fanatic, you're a Pixar fanatic, and asking for that dream just coincides right in line with that. One other thing I want to point out about what you just said is all about, I think it's, I always get them mixed up, man, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. I think it was Jim Rohn that said, help enough people get what they want and you'll have more than you can even imagine. So much is said in what you just said right there. And based on my readings and my experiences in life, is where I go with some of that. Where did you get some of this ideas that you want to be able to help other people fulfill their dream to further enhance your life?
It wasn't necessarily any idea. It was just more so philosophy. I think the experiences that I've personally have had when it comes to growing businesses, because Penji isn't my first business. It's probably my fourth or fifth, to be honest with you. And there's always been reflection periods of like, why hasn't this succeeded as fast as I would wanted it to, or why doesn't this work, and why does this one work? Why does Penji work versus all the others? And after just reflecting, you kind of realize what it was, and it was the person leading's mentality and what they believed in, or the things that they said and how they led and what they did, etc. So I would say it's surrounding all of those experiences.
Absolutely spot on. You know, of all the business owners I talk to, and everybody wants to come in and learn strategy, and I've got strategy. There's so much strategy out there, it's ridiculous. And I've got it in my book, and I've got it on my membership site, and I've got all this stuff. But 90% of the time, I find myself talking about mindset.
Yeah, totally.
90% of the time. And because I can give one company, the same exact company, a chiropractor, and a chiropractor down the street, and I can give them the same strategies, and one's going to succeed and the other one's not, and it always tracks back 100% to their mindset.
Absolutely. If you can't accept the feedback, if you can't look at yourself in the mirror, I think that's like one of the hardest things to do in business, is being able to have those like really hard conversations about why you suck. And I mean, it doesn't have to be that morbid, but I think that's what separates like success versus maybe potentially failure, is that conversation. And you just have to be honest and real and raw with yourself. But I think once you're able to do that, then I think that's when like the real success can truly occur in your business.
Yeah, as soon as I hear somebody say something like, Wally, I've been doing this for 30 years, I'm like, you're not willing to learn. You're not willing to move forward because you've been doing this for 30 years, which is nothing more than a platitude. It doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that is actually a really interesting case. Like the people who brag about how long they've been doing it for, but they're necessarily, they might be in the same position that they were 25 years ago. And so they haven't necessarily moved the needle in those within that entire 30-year period. And yeah, I would agree. It would be something along with mindset.
Yeah, I mean, you've been doing it for 30 years, and you're where you're at. The guy down the street, the guy or gal down the street has been doing it for 2 years and has way surpassed anything you've ever accomplished business-wise. So guess what, buddy?
Yeah. Why? Why is that person able to do it and you're not?
Exactly. Very, very good point. So how would you describe yourself, Johnathan?
I'm a gritty type of guy that likes to get his hands dirty. that doesn't take no for an answer, that when he hears the word no, understands that he's one step closer to a yes. I think that's kind of like the whole aspect of why we've achieved the things that we've done in this past year. On paper, we are the most unqualified professionals to be able to do something like this. Like, we shouldn't be winning. But I look back at it and I think about why, and it's just because we're able to do the work that most people don't want to do. We're able to focus on the things that truly matter and move the business forward, and we don't get caught up in the monotonous BS that busy type of work that everybody knows and loves. It's really easy to be able to check things off of your list and that you create, but does that stuff, whatever that is, does that move your business forward? And I could probably say 99% of the stuff that's on your to-do list right now isn't going to get you where you want it to be, where you want to be. But you kind of just have to. I think that's the definition of me, just that hands dirty, hands in mud type of thing, and just willing to grind it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that whole 80-20 rule that I share with so many people, is that, 20% of what you do every single day generates 80% of your revenue or your profits, and all the rest of the stuff you should just be outsourcing out to somebody else. But, let's get a little bit deeper into what makes you that gritty person. And we're going to get into that kick in the gut moment. And if this conversation, if your story digs into that kick in the gut moment, so be it, because I find that many times the kick in the gut moment really does change the trajectory of our lives, of my life, and many people's lives that I've had a conversation with. So if you would dig a little bit deeper into who you are and what makes you that gritty person.
Yeah, I grew up in Philadelphia, which I could say
That'll do it.
Yeah, and I grew up in a pretty rough neighborhood too, and I was at times the only white kid on the block, and not that really changed me, so to speak, but it definitely gave me perspective about the different types of cultures that are out there in the world. But growing up in Philly, in Northeast Philly, it definitely molded me to have this like strong personality of like fighting for yourself, because there are times where you got into disagreements and you got into fights and you had to fend for yourself. It didn't happen too often, but needless to say, it did in fact happen. I just also think that, like, when I was raised, my parents aren't entrepreneurial at all. In fact, my parents are probably more on the reserve side, where they've always said like, oh, don't do that, like you're gonna get hurt, or like don't do that, it's risky. Don't do that. Like, I remember when I quit my job at Apple, my parents, my mom in particular, was like, you're leaving a stable job. What about your 401k? What about your this and your that? And I'm just like, I don't give a crap. Like, I don't care about that stuff, because I want to live a life of, I'll say, abundance, right? Mm-hmm. And that lifestyle, that mentality of just constantly moving forward, and I guess being a rogue, so to speak, has always followed me. And that's kind of been like that's where I got it. I think that's where I got it from. I feel like my dad might be partially entrepreneurial. He could have been, but maybe just slightly fearful of the risk that it took. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't have kids. I'm not married. I have a relationship, but I don't have much to lose other than my dignity. And if that's the only thing that I have to lose, then I don't really care. I'll go out there and make an ass of myself in order to live a dream and live a lifestyle that many dream about, and many wish about, but they won't be able to achieve it. So, not sure if that answers your question, but that's kind of just like my MO.
All right. So, yeah, man, I mean, I totally dig that. And that definitely builds on who you are and what's helped you make the decisions that you've made so far, and quite frankly, the resiliency that's gotten you through the stuff. Because as you shared the correlation between you and your parents, and it's quite common that you said your dad would have been entrepreneurial but didn't want to take that risk. And as entrepreneurs, many of us see sticking with that type of lifestyle is a risk. One, because anything can happen at any time and people lose their jobs all the time. But two, as you said, the risk was not living that life of abundance and living that life that you wanted to live. And another thing that makes many of us very resilient is the amount of kick in the gut moments that we go through and that we survive through and that we come out of on the other side many times better off than we were before. So if you would, share with us one of those kick in the gut moments and really make us feel this.
The largest kick in the gut, I would say, has been when my character was in question. And I've had some conversations with people, employees and close personal friends in business, and there were actions that were done that my character was put in question. And it was just a matter of what I believed in, the things that I said, just even if it's a snarky comment, a fun, joking type of comment, those things. Once you're a founder, once you're on a platform, what could be deemed a joke within you, it may not be a joke for somebody else. And I think once that character moment was put into question, which I couldn't even give you an example of what it actually was, because it just, I looked past and I said, I make we all know what I'm hinting at, I hope at least, is those weird, interesting type of conversations of comments. They happened and my character was put into question, and I had to realize, why do I do it? Why do I always have to get the laugh? Why do I always have to do this? Why do I have to do that? And it stems from insecurities. It stems from confidence. It stems from insecurities in both business and life, and personal, emotional, etc. So that was my biggest kick in the gut. And then now, being able to reflect, being able to read about it, being able to just psychologically just be stronger, it's made me more aware of the conversations that I have with people. It's made me more aware of what I'm saying. It makes me more aware of how to respond to people when asked the question. It's okay to stay back. It's okay if asked a question to reflect on it in maybe 2 to 3, maybe even 5-10 seconds worth of silence. As long as you're able to think clearly and answer the question thoroughly, rather than just blindly go after the question once it's asked without actually having much thought into the question itself. That was my biggest gut punch type of moment.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you can't even recall any of those specific situations, and that says a lot to who you are and what you've, where your mind's at. Because what I'm referring to here, guys, is I've been in the same situation, and there's one that I recall because I talk about it quite often, where I was given a class, and everybody in the class, we always do a review afterwards because we always want to make the course better, right? And
yeah,
had great reviews. But one guy just really beat me up. One guy. Mm-hmm. And I literally dwelled on that for 3 weeks. I mean, literally. I was like, who the hell does this guy think he is?
Yeah.
And I did this, that, and the other. And then I got to consider, and I actually sat down with a mastermind, a group of guys, and I brought this up. And they're like, you don't know what that guy was going through, man. You have no idea what was in that guy's mind. And it does matter because you want to reach everybody and you want to get your message out there, but you reached one person. In fact, you reached 28 other people because there were 29 people in the room. You reached 29 other people, and you probably reached this guy too, but he was in a bad place at that point in time.
Exactly.
But you got to let that stuff go.
Yeah.
And you got to realize the difference that you are making in people's lives, and the message, people are hearing your message. And quite frankly, as I say it all the time, and so many others say as well, if you're trying to please everybody all the time, then you're going to please nobody. Yeah. It's just the way the world works. It's a matter of fact.
Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I mean, I would I would agree wholeheartedly with that. You can't please everybody. You always you try as much as you possibly can, but at the end of the day, I think you just have to stay true. I guess you have to find out like what you believe in, right? And I think there was a lot of moments in my life where I didn't know what I believed in. I didn't know what I stood for, and I used. This is very early on in my career. I used other people's whys to fuel my own, but I never had my own thought, if that makes sense. Because like there's so much content in this world, and you have so much trust in the people that you follow. You just on social media and stuff like that, you kind of just like pick up on other people's cadences, and you pick up on other people's like message and phrases and whatever. You can kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to say. But how can you take your own story and make your own cadences so other people can follow it? That I think that's also important.
Yeah, it is very important. And, there's some of the top guys out there that I can think of that are in my circle that so many people follow where they are today. For instance, is like Grant Cardone or, Gary Vaynerchuk or,
yeah, exactly.
You name it. There's so many guys out there, so many men and women out there that you want to follow. But if you really pay attention to what they're saying and who they are, they're just doing the same thing of people that came before them. Most of them constantly refer to their mentors. Sometimes it's their parents, sometimes it's somebody else in business or somebody else in their life, but they're always referencing somebody else as well. But what they've done is they've taken their message, made it their own, told it in a way that others have told their own message, and they move forward with it, and they tell it a lot, and they stick to their guns, they stick to their
exactly
story.
I think that's the most important thing is like once you find a story that clicks, then you have to just go out and tell it over and over and over again, to the point where people start to remember it and be like, oh, that's the guy that does this, and that's the guy that does that. This is what this guy believes in, and et cetera. And there's so many conversations that I've had with people and interviewed too. I'm sure you can say the same, where once you interview that person, and you maybe do a YouTube video on them, and they say virtually the same things that they say on that video, and then you get them on the podcast, and it's like, wow, it's great that I'm hearing this story again, but it's the same story. And I just think that repetition of just like knowing who you are wholeheartedly and staying true to it speaks a lot to who you are as a person, but also when it comes to business as well. I think a lot of businesses nowadays are trying to do so much stuff. Right? They're trying to offer everything under the sun because they feel as if that as the most important thing is just offering everything. But what happens if you were just good at one thing? And speaking to like Penji and what we do, we're good at one thing. We're not going to dilute our services. We're not going to dilute our brand. I'm not going to dilute my message talking about something I'm not comfortable with. And that's just because you have to know who you are. Yeah,
you have to know who you are. And in business specifically, you have to know who your avatar is. You have to know who your number one favorite customer is, and ultimately you have to serve that customer where they are at that point in time in their business and their life. And it says a lot to that. I mean, it's going back to the everybody telling their story. I mean, how many interviews can you hear of Tony Robbins before you're tired of his turkey story?
Exactly.
But it's what works for him, and that's the same thing. A lot of those top influencers are all going to say the same story over and over again because that is their story, and that's what people buy into. It's really awesome. What was the pivot point that kind of got you into what you're doing at this point?
It would be when we were an agency, we were really good at graphic design, and we were. So I'll go a step further back. When we were an agency, we were a full service agency that did SEO, web design, app development, web development, just call it content marketing. Like the list goes on and on. We were good at. We did everything, and we weren't specialized in anything. And the one thing that people always said to us was like, yo, your graphic design is sick. Like we love what you do. And then we realized like, okay, well, we're really good at this. We know we're really good at this. And then we kind of created a tool to kind of help us increase our productivity because we're getting so much graphic design requests. And the tools that we created, we're trying to use outside tools, so to speak, but nothing necessarily fit within our I guess, our wheelhouse. And so that's when we started to create something ourselves. And we just saw this massive potential of just what could be. And then that's when we put a service on it and called it Penji. But it was a lot of, I guess the pivotal point was just understanding that the business model that we've been in for over 5 years wasn't necessarily the business model that we were meant to be. And so again, having those really hard conversations of like, we need to take a chance here because we're being stagnant. We're growing just on a flat line. And how long can you grow on a flat line and just drive yourself insane? Because flatlining in any business isn't great. And so that's when we created Penji, because we needed something more. We needed something to challenge us. And it's been a world of change, just being able to help more people. Because when we were an agency, we helped big businesses. We helped like universities and Fortunes and Incs and all those types of companies. But you're not really helping anybody. You're helping that university make more money, You're helping that Fortune 500 company make another $1 billion by making your website look sexy. We wanted to help the small business, the startups, right? We wanted to help those types of people make an impact in their own community. And looking at our services prior and looking at them now, we're just able to help so many more people with graphic design because we're fundamentally changing the way that people think about graphic design. It's no longer that like normal aspect of calling somebody up and receiving and wanting to receive graphic designs. Like, no, you can receive unlimited graphic designs for our service, all at one flat monthly rate. And I'm sure you can attest to this, but graphic design is probably one of the most important aspects of any business. Is how can you differentiate yourself? Is it through looks or is it through service? I'd say it starts with the looks, because in order to get people interested in your service, you have to look the part. So we've all had horror stories of how to find graphic designers. We try to make it easier for you so you don't have to go on and search, or you don't have to hire that in-house person. Go on a website, sign up for the service, talk to a designer right away, and get your designs done in under 24 to 48 hours.
Part of the whole thing about marketing is the first thing you have to do is grab somebody's attention. And when anybody's scrolling through Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, I mean, you name it. Instagram is mostly graphics anyway, but when you're scrolling through the pages and stuff, it's not words that are catching people's attention. It's that it looks like it's a video, or it's that graphic that's like, whoa, stop, let me look at this. And you only have 7 seconds to get somebody's attention these days anyway. So if you don't have that graphic that's they say a picture's worth 1,000 words or 1,000,000 words, whatever the way it goes. The bottom line is that's what gets people's attention.
Yes.
And that's what gets people to go back. Okay, the graphic got it. Now let me see what this is about. And it all starts right there. Absolutely. It's extremely important. And then the same thing on the websites as well.
Yep. Yeah, spot on. That we believe in very similar things.
One of the things that I really am intrigued by always is the name. Where does Penji come from? And then roll that into, who specifically are you seeing that is your top customer? Because as you said, you're not where you were supposed to be. And it's the same with so many businesses. Even Instagram was nothing what Instagram is today when it first got started. Absolutely nothing. It completely transitioned. So share with us that story.
I can tell you, I can answer one, but I can't answer the other. So I can answer where we thought we were and where we are today. But when it comes to Penji's name, that is a mystery that we will leave it up to you to decide what you think it is. So my co-founder, myself, my co-founder are the only people who know what who did I say? Me, my co-founder, and one other person knows because they guessed it right. So 3 people on this entire planet know what Penji is. My parents don't even know what Penji means. So we'll leave it up to you to decide. What do you think it means? Let us know in the comment section below. But when it comes to what we thought Penji was versus what it is today, we originally thought that that Penji was going to be for startups, and to some degree it is, but it isn't necessarily our number one core demographic. So we thought that startups would love us because we're at a price point of $349 a month, right? So we thought it was a no-brainer. Again, at some degree, it is a no-brainer, but they don't necessarily have the cash flow as like a larger business or like an agency, because startups they have their sprints. They go from 0 to whatever, and then once they hit that whatever, then they're done. And so they're great customers, but they're not lifetime customers. So how can you find those people who use you every single day? And what we found is agencies, people who are content creators, internal marketing teams to organizations. Like, those are constant creators. They always need stuff. So I would say in combination of like agencies, internal marketing teams, startups, small businesses, those are the people that use our services. And it wasn't always that way, but that's who we're going after on a consistent basis.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting, and I like the mystery behind the name as well. I've seen many different products out there. I've done graphics myself, and I've used different tools and stuff like that. And many of the times, even the tools that you use, that others have used and I've used, it's all these basic templated type of images out there that are all over the internet that people have taken pictures of or created and sold to these different services. So is your team creating like custom graphics and images?
Yeah, everything that we do is custom. It's custom to the person's wants. So I can kind of give you an example, like a flow of how it works. So you sign up for Penji, you choose the plan that you're looking for. As soon as you sign up, in under 3 minutes, you can submit your first design project, and you can submit a logo, right? You can submit an advertisement, an ebook. We can create a children's book because we've done it before. If you need t-shirts, we could do that. Sales sheets, social media content, the list goes on and on. If it involves Photoshop or InDesign or Photoshop, InDesign, Illustrator, then we can do it. And once you receive it, then you can obtain unlimited revisions and keep asking and keep tweaking until we get it 100% right. And that's all at no extra cost. So there's no hidden fees. There's no hourly rates. It's just one flat monthly rate, starting at $349, and it's up to you to do what you want. And we'll keep going at it until we get it right.
Wow, yeah, very impressive. That's very cool. So, Johnathan, we're at the point actually, before we even go to that point, I want to hear some good news stories. I want to hear some stories of some, either people that you've worked with, some sort of companies that you worked with that have come out and used your services and are just completely blown away.
Yeah, so we have a whole bunch of. It's the one thing I'd say we're pretty dang good at, which is case studies. And so we obtained our customer base primarily through word of mouth and primarily through locality. And so we have the luxury of having a lot of customers worldwide, but some of them are even here locally to us in Camden, New Jersey. So we've interviewed all of our not all, but most of our happy customers, and just got them on a video and said, hey, why do you like Penji? And so they told us specifically why they like us. And then what we did was we took their words and we used that within our own marketing. So now we know like why that person chose us versus somebody else, and what we've been able to do for their business. And then we just used their words, so to speak, against them in order to get new clients. That's great. We've been able to help so many customers, but I think the answer that I want to give you to this question in particular is what we're doing as a company. So from a company perspective, we have 30 to 35 people. We're about to hire a couple more, so that's why I have to say 30, 35. And the one thing that I say I'm most proud of is the diversity that's in our company. We're in a city called Camden, New Jersey, right outside Philadelphia. It was nominated as the worst city in America to live in, the most dangerous city in America at one point in time. And what we're doing here in the city of Camden is we're trying to do good. We hire inner city youth here in Camden. We give them jobs, we give them internships and opportunities in order to make a better life for themselves. And it's just really great to be able to hire these talented people who may be passed over just because of their background or where they're from or their name, et cetera. And so what if they had the same opportunity as everybody else? And that's just something that I'm really, really proud of. So the other day we were nominated for an award, which I never even knew that it existed, but it was the most diverse startup award. And it's just so amazing to be able to have that type of acknowledgement that we know we're diverse, we know we're unique, but now it's been validated by other people, and that's just, to me, is so powerful and so much fun. And if you look at pictures of like our company, you can kind of see that we're a very, very diverse group of people. But I think that's what makes us successful, because we're able to get so many different philosophies and answers to these common questions, because each person has an answer based off of their background, and it just makes a more well-rounded company than that of like the same types of people at the same types of positions in others.
Man, that right there, Johnathan, that is your story. That
Yeah.
is amazing.
Education to us is so important. Mm-hmm. And we've partnered with an organization called HopeWorks, which educates the youth about technology. Like, they want to be in the technology field. They want to be marketers, but they don't necessarily know how to do it because they're not given the proper resources in order to obtain that education.
Right.
And so we hire people that want to have a better life for themselves, that want to be in the technology field, that have that background and have graduated from the program HopeWorks. So those are the types of, I just want to make it clear that we're hiring students, we're hiring residents of Camden with that technology background.
And it's just awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah, thanks. There was an article written the other day about so in Camden, there's a lot of businesses that have come over to Camden because of tax breaks. There's like $2.2 billion worth of tax breaks, and one of the CEOs of a major company here said, basically took a crap on all of the residents of Camden, saying that they're not hardworking and they're this, that, and maybe, I'm sure, other things. And I wanted to be like, well, come over to our company. You can see a stark comparison, a stark difference, because our people are working their butts off. They're succeeding, and they come from almost the same background and the same location as your people. And so you have billions of dollars, and we're a cash flow positive, never received funding startup, and here we are able to do it. Why? How come we're different than you? And I could say it comes from, in the very beginning of our conversation, it comes from mindset. It comes from the beliefs that we have in our own business and what we're able to do. I think that's, at the end of the day, that's what moves businesses forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So, brother, we're at the point of the conversation. We're going to pay it forward to our abundant leaders. Ready to do that?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right, guys, as you know, I like to lift up veteran-owned businesses. Quite frankly, I like to lift up all businesses, but I specifically lift up veteran-owned businesses here on Men of Abundance and charge absolutely nothing to do so because, one, I resonate with the business, or I know the veteran who built the business. Today is no different. Steve Kaplan was a neighbor of mine. He lived right across the street from me. We moved in at the same exact time, the same exact day, in fact, into this beach community out on the island of Oahu, on the west side of Oahu, literally right on the beach, a beach community, absolutely gorgeous. I mean, we used to get all the neighbors together and go out there and just have barbecues and put up a bonfire and just have a great time every single weekend, sometimes during the week. But another thing Steve used to do that I really loved was he used to hold a Bible study every Sunday with anybody who wanted to show up. Anybody and everybody would come out to the gazebo right there by our house, and he would hold a Bible study. Steve is truly an amazing man and friend, and I really miss those weekends out there on the beach. Steve is a recently retired Navy SEAL and an all-around ocean lover. He spent the last 4 years as the lead diving instructor for the SEAL team based out there in Hawaii. As a veteran of many deployments in waters all over the world, Steve's unique perspective, value for life, and wonder for the aquatic world is unavoidably contagious. Of all the extreme sports, from skydiving to shooting, mountaineering, and racing, and so many others, there is nothing that matches the excitement balanced with the serenity that diving has to offer. There's something to be said about the peace of mind knowing Steve has trained the best of the best, and now he has your back. He brings the safest and most thrilling underwater experiences Trident Adventures has to offer you. Steve has a way of making you feel like the underwater world is your personal playground and all life's worries wash away. So if you're currently in Hawaii on the island of Oahu or planning a vacation in the near future, I highly suggest you look up Trident Adventures. You'll find the link in the show notes. Steve and his business partner, James Beck, who's also a retired Navy SEAL, are going to show you an adventure of a lifetime. And they are the coolest dudes you want to hang around with. I mean, seriously, who wouldn't want to go diving with the most elite divers in the world, Navy SEALs? And on top of that, these are men that I personally know and have had a couple beers with. And if anything, you can talk about me and have a couple laughs at my expense. So go check them out, guys. TridentAdventures.com. Check out their website. Get to know Steve and James. Next time you're out in Hawaii, go hang out with these guys. Now, let's get back to the conversation. Cool. So share 1 to 3 actionable steps that men of abundance can take today.
Be mindful of who you're talking to, what you're saying, and what you're hearing. I think men need to listen more. Rather than just actively talking, because I think our mouths in particular get us into a lot of trouble. And now more so than ever, men need to be held accountable. So be careful with what you're saying. Contrary to belief, it is not a bad time for men from a political standpoint. It is now an opportunity for men to have their words in check and their words have weight. So just be mindful and listen. I think that's number one. I think it's number two would be checking your ego at the door, which basically means that your ego is going to get scratched. And it's probably, if you're an entrepreneur, it's very, very easy to have your ego be scratched. But I think you have to have those humbling experiences and letting your ego get scratched a little bit just to succeed in your life and business and personal, et cetera. So just because your ego's scratched, try to think about why you're reacting the way that you are, because it's probably ego doing your taking control of you versus like who you are as a person. So just be careful in that regards. And then the third thing I would say, just read more, because the only way to learn is to read. That's my opinion, so it may not be scientifically proven, but that's just me. And when I say read like a real book that was by a publishing company, that was audited and edited, and not something on maybe on like an Amazon or something like that. Although I do respect the people who are on Amazon, but I think having that like publishing aspect and that editing process, or some type of credibility where it's edited by multiple people, so you're getting the absolute best stuff. Do that rather than watching YouTube content and getting inspiration from others. Read the stories of people, because you're able to apply that to your own lifestyle and your own business by taking the nuggets of information that other people have written in books. So I would say those are the three things. Yeah,
great action steps, man. I dig that. What daily habits make the biggest impact in your life?
For me, meditation. I don't do it every single day, but I know that when I do it, I feel like a new man. So, and then I would say working out is also one of those things as well. Eating good food, that's another one. Putting fuel into the body. I mean, I'm very cognizant of my health, so all that mental health and physical health, those are the steps I take every day to make sure that I'm working at optimal speed.
Excellent. Yeah. So you mentioned reading. What would you recommend that our abundant leaders read or listen to, and why?
Depends on like what you're going after, but I have like six, 7, 8, 9, 10 books that I have on my shelf right now that I'm just trying to go through. I'm not, I want to be very clear. I'm not reading them all at the same time. But I'm reading one at a time. But some of them on this list are The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Creativity Inc., Mastery, Adam Grant Originals. He's from Philly. High Output Management was just referred to me, and The Effective Executive by I don't even know who this by, but yeah, I mean those are a couple books that I'm going to be in the process of reading, so I'm really excited to talk about it once I'm done reading them.
Excellent. Yeah, all great. Some of those I've heard of, others I have not, but it's important, like you said, to read a diverse type of book. One book that I'm almost done with right now that I just absolutely love. I didn't realize, and I've had this book for 6 months, and it just took me a while to sit down and read it, is a book by Chip Gaines. It's called Capital Gains. Chip Gaines from the Fixer Upper
Oh, really?
show. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get this book, man.
Really?
First off, he is like my brother from another mother. We just, the way he thinks. And you dig it too, because he's super into diversity as well. You just got to get the book.
His wife is Asian.
She
right?
is
Art Asian?
Korean. Her mother is
Korean?
Korean. Korean. Her mother's Korean, and her dad is Caucasian American.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Amazing couple, and just an amazing story that they have.
They're a marketing like dream. They're good people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And when you read the book, you'll see just how much.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
grassroots for real.
Yeah.
Crazy,
Nice.
man. So, what do you feel holds most people back from living a life of true abundance?
I hinted at it earlier, but themselves. It may not be the answer. It might be the most cliche answer of it all, but I've seen so many times where just how people react to things, right? I'll give you a perfect example, and this is a story. Yesterday, I got yesterday I had a note on my car, and the car was the note said, "Call me, you hit my car," and I didn't hit the car at all. There's no humanly possible way that I hit the car. So I called the person up. It was a woman, and she immediately went into this rant about how I hit the car, and she gave me the timestamps, and I gave her my timestamps. And needless to say, that it never. Her story never matched up to what actually happened. So clearly this woman was just trying to get money and extortion and et cetera, et cetera. And I was just thinking about like, why is this person acting the way that they are? And it's just because of like the mindset. I know there may be no correlation here, but it's just something that literally happened has boggled my mind. Is like we're constantly getting into arguments with people for what? Like, what is the reason for this argument? Do we need more money? Do we want to feel better about ourselves? Are we just arguing just because I want to ruin somebody's day? I don't know. I would just really just take a hard look at yourself internally, look at yourself in the mirror, and find out how you can get better. Once you're able to have that real conversation with yourself, that honest conversation, personally, I believe that the whole world will open up for you. But it just depends on like how soon it will be until you're able to look yourself in the mirror to do that.
Wow, yeah, that's pretty deep, man. That's a deep conversation to have with yourself, and I'd ask you guys to go back and listen to that again and ponder that and think about that for yourself, for that last argument or the argument that you're in right now, or the one you plan on getting into later on today on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many political crap on there too, on Facebook. That people are just commenting just to comment to make themselves feel better. Like, why? Just focus on what you're doing, or don't even look at Facebook. You really don't need to. Just focus on your dream. Focus on what you're doing.
Yeah, how is that going to move your needle forward? I mean, seriously, is it? Exactly. I mean, you're trying to change somebody else's mind, and even
doesn't want to
if
be
you
changed.
were able to change somebody else's mind, which is not going to happen on Facebook, especially when emotions are involved. What's that going to do to you for your betterment of your family, your relationships, and your income?
Yeah.
Anything? Probably not. Anyhow,
Exactly.
So what does living a life of abundance mean to you, Jonathan?
Living a life of gratitude, just being grateful for every day that you're able to have the things that you have. I have a lot of amazing things, and there's a lot of things that I don't have. And I think just being grateful for what you have in that moment and understand that what you have today is only going to grow and become stronger. And that's what it means to me.
Yeah, wonderful. So, brother, we're going to close this up, man. But before we do, what did we not talk about that you want to ensure our abundant leaders get out of our conversation today?
Other than if you believe what I believe in, and I'm sure this is the next follow-up question, so I'm probably stealing your thunder, is just if you believe in the things that I've said, if I've given you any value at all whatsoever, I challenge you to head over to penji.co and just find out what it is that we do and be intrigued by it. I mean, I talked about very personal things that are really near and dear to my heart, talked about what I love doing and my passion behind diversity. There's nothing that we really didn't talk about that I mean, the only thing maybe is comic books. I'm a huge comic book nerd, and my favorite Pixar movie is WALL-E. If even though you didn't ask, but I know you're a Disney guy, but that's my favorite. Yeah, that's about it, man. If you like what you do and you believe in what I believe in, just head over to penji.co and just look into us and see if we're a right fit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome movie, man. I really dig that you like that one. I love that one as well. There's so many messages in that movie about diversity and everything else. But listen, guys, penji.co is Penji. Go check that out, man. There's a lot of good stuff over there. Might even find something that you can use in your own life, in your own business. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I certainly have enjoyed this conversation. Jonathan, I want you to go out there, live your life of abundance, and brother, keep paying it forward like you are, man. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. So your action step for the day is, as usual, share Men of Abundance with everybody you come in contact with. Leave a rating and review. Greatly appreciated. And figure out some way to take a little bit of risk in your life today. Even if it's walking up to somebody that you don't know and saying hello. Or how about evaluating the level of value that you add to your employer and walk into their office and ask him or her for a raise based on the added value that you now give and bring to that company. If you're a business owner, what about picking up the phone and calling that client that you know, that ideal client that you know that you want to work with? Call them up, figure out a way to have the conversation with them, add value to them, and then bring them on as a client. Or at least just call them up and say, hey, let's go have coffee together. I just want to get to know you a little bit more. Look, there are many ways, big and small, to take risk in your life that's going to advance your life forward in one way or another. But you absolutely must take risk and be prepared to fail. Figure out what that is for you and don't make it comfortable. It's got to be uncomfortable. Now, go out and live your life of abundance and make sure to pay it forward.
That's all for today, Abundance Leaders. For more about our guests and the powerful information we shared with you today, be sure to sign up for our mailing list at menofabundance.com. We appreciate your time and look forward to hanging out with you on our next episode. So until then, be sure to pay it forward and live your life of abundance.